And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me as always is my good brother here in the temple, the man of 1,000 runes, the CEO of Zadare Enterprises, and the bane of my fucking existence, good brother Xanatrix.
The corporation is down 40% of its workforce this week, so you could say that no saibo a top gear daze.
Was that really necessary?
Absolutely. I've been driven this entire week. After all, we're talking about races, aren't we, Monk?
That is bad.
I've been holding that one in all night.
Yeah, we are covering races this week. The various races within Otherworlds, and we covered the base 12 briefly last week, but I will admit a little bit of that was padding because we weren't exactly swimming in options.
I mean, we were just doing the basic overview of the introduction to mechanics and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And because of that, we did need something to kind of fill the void a little bit.
At least we didn't have a veil to cover the void.
We've already done that. And once the expansion finishes from Trevor, we'll probably do that again. But I'd like to open this up by talking a bit about the controversies regarding certain games wanting to distance themselves from the word race when it comes to that aspect of character creation. I have always looked at. I have laughed at that, but some people would think, oh, you're probably so offended that they got rid of race and replaced it with ancestry. No, I'm not. I am at best amused. And I've likened it to the Emperor's New Clothes. Because you changed it from race to ancestry for reasons. Except for all intents and purposes, the rules haven't changed.
Yeah. I find it arbitrary, and to that point, I don't even care one way or another about the change. Sure, change the words you use.
I do, however, have a laugh over the fact that a lot of people who make the change expect to get a cookie over it.
Those people are stupid.
That is what I find the most amusing. And when it comes to the whole thing, I think the only time I would unironically give props for the use of ancestry in that case is when you're dealing with a game where non-humans are not expected to be a factor. I've mentioned in the past how I've got no problem with that in, say, a in say a sword and sorcery game, like a Conan XP, because in that kind of game, everyone's going to be expected to play as humans.
Yep.
So instead, I'm fine with shifting it over to different modifiers if you're playing as a Sumerian or a Hyperborean and so on.
You even call those bloodlines instead, but then you might get Onyx Path breathing down your neck.
Genericide happens. Onyx Path couldn't do shit. Plus, it seems these days renegades handling vampire, and Onyx Path is doing non World of Darkness storyteller stuff.
I gotta wonder if Mark sees the old White Wolf properties being passed around and wonders the same question that we hear asked in the Godfather movies. What did they do to my poor baby boy? I am not Marlon Brando. I will not try to imitate Marlon Brando.
Well, of course you're not Marlon Brando. You're not a complete dickhead.
Fair. Thank you, Monk.
I give him all the props he has for an actor, but well, all you'd have to do is just look at a documentary of Apocalypse Now or The Island of Dr. Moreau to know how much of a diva he was.
Very true.
Although I do find it funny that he called out Dennis Hopper for unprofessionalism when Hopper asked for cocaine. The guy who had to do close-ups in the dark to hide how fat he was wants to get on some and didn't even bother to remember his lines. Is getting on someone else for unprofessionalism.
Well, different people, different standards, Monk. Fuck them all is my response.
Mm-hmm. Now, we have some games like to stick to maybe 5 or so races in their core book and then expand on it later. We have 12 to go through, and only a handful of them could be considered the standard fantasy race.
Yes, these races are all actually pretty cool. Some have weird names that I still don't know how to pronounce and will probably butcher when I pronounce them.
If anybody who's mad at us for pronunciation, leave a comment about how we fucked up pronunciation, but leave it in Chinese, and also don't leave a comment.
Or if you do leave a comment, just expect me to come back with some Google Translate bullshit that insults you.
Mm-hmm. I should have probably asked you to do that whenever the last time I covered a Wuxia game in my review series, and I got people getting on me for pronunciation.
I would just post the memes that say that the CCP is hated by heaven and should be overthrown.
But when it comes to I will admit one thing: when it comes to races, I find that a lot of RPGs don't make them matter. Oh, they might matter during character creation, but that's about it. Like once you get into mid tier or high tier, that ability modifier that you got from your choice of race doesn't really matter, and I'm pretty sure some OSR guys will argue we'll just do races class. That is swinging the pendulum too far the opposite end.
Remember, we want a nice fair balance that swings back and forth evenly. We don't need you to upset the pendulum altogether.
The exception to the rule would probably be if you have multiple classes for specific races, which is what Axe does. Except in that case, you're just expanding all you're doing is just expanding the class pool as it is.
Yes.
Plus, with something like Axe, it's stupidly easy to make classes.
Yeah, I would use, the pimp my ride meme again, but I don't think it's necessary here.
No. So I will note I'm gonna go off the list of races just very quickly. Besk, Elf, Dandrick, Dahari. Once again, we're probably not pronouncing that right. Felnix, Dwarf, Human, Leogin, Machine, Ornok, Vanticar, and Vampire. And of course, a half-race variant that we covered last week.
Yeah.
Now,
the only one I think I'd like to correct is Phalanx, because that's a pronunciation straight from Monster Hunter, so we don't need a pronunciation guide.
Now, one thing I will note is that I do like that we have a splash page of each race with bullet points.
I want to do these because I want to do my car salesman voice.
All right, let's start with the Besk.
The Besk, nomads of the desert, tough as nails, can tank like a motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, my car salesman voice.
See. The Besk. I'll be leaving you soon, little one, but fear not. You've got all the tools you need to survive, to adapt, to become. The world is harsh, but we learn to grow from this, to become stronger. A Besh mother speaking to her child.
Mm-hmm.
So it opens with... Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I've got my own back. Besk are uniquely able to store food and water in one of their 3 stomachs and digest it at a later time. This ability allows them to survive long travels, making them uncontested survivors. Since Besk can survive so well on their own, they tend to be solitary creatures. They usually do not trust others easily and watch out for themselves first.
Then we get to physical description. Besk are a humanoid species with naturally tough, tan skin and small, short frames. They typically do not grow a lot of hair aside from the females, who tend to grow some hair on their head.
Mm-hmm.
History. Besk have a long tradition of venturing across the sands of Doragon in small groups, or oftentimes even alone. Their population was larger, but now many blame the harsh practices of the Dandrick, who used to hunt them for sport, as the reason for their decline. Their largest region is Sakar. Religion, sorry. Where they worship the sandworms and believe it to be honorable to die in the desert when the time comes.
They're Fremen. They are fucking Fremen. In all but name.
Society. Native to Doragon, Besk aren't social creatures. They prefer being alone, handling all adversities by themselves. Being self-reliant makes many of them bounty hunters. While integrated into society, they prefer analyzing their surroundings, observing behavior, and assessing the situation from afar. Relations. Besk do not like having many relations with others, and see having too many close bonds as only a guarantee of getting yourself stabbed in the back. Besk tend to not trust others, and in turn aren't well trusted by most others themselves. Way of life. Besk tend to keep to themselves and their own motives. Most others don't know a Besk's true intentions, since they are quite secretive. A common belief among Besk is that one is not free of burdens of the world until death, after which they can experience something beyond the universe. They don't wish for death, or in particular enjoy the thought of it, they just openly accept it.
And then we get to adventurers. Besk rarely feel like they belong or fit in anywhere, so traveling comes easy to them. They don't typically have sentimentality for where they grew up and often seek other places in hopes to one day find somewhere to truly call home. Besk are slow to trust anyone, but should they find a group that earns their trust, they would be apt to joining them. They value privacy, death, and self-sufficiency. They despise publicity, life, and dependency. With some of the males, and some names you'll get will be Beer, Dog, Gex, Dream, Cress, Okan, Os, Resd, Tarn, and Veet. With females, you'll get names like Beva, Fren, Keen, Lamla, Marve, Ona, or Anna, I'm not sure, Sela, Cinda, Tis, and Yuka. Their traits are as follows. The sizes for best are between 4'5" and 5'5", so they're midgets like everybody else is to us, Monk. Their size is considered medium. They know the languages of Common and Beskin, and their speech. Besk tend to have a very calm and whispery voice. Their voices do not tend to carry far, but those within range can hear that their words are very articulated. And their ages tend to be 10 years old is adulthood, 30 years old is middle-aged, 60 years old is old, 90 years is an elder. They're weak to acid and ice. They have a resistance to fire and poison. Their attribute bonuses. Besk are tough survivors capable of surviving the harsh sand conditions of their planet. However, they aren't very social creatures. +2 toughness, +2 wisdom, -2 resolve. And then their racial skills. Extra stomachs, a passive. You can store up to 3 more items in your extra stomachs to be regurgitated during your turn for 1 AP. Oh, that's got to be pleasant. Iron gut, passive. The Besk have the stomach for anything, and as such are able to eat strange oddities that most others would find harmful or poisonous. You do not take damage from eating any type of food, regardless of its age or level of poison. Additionally, when consuming food, if it wouldn't normally heal you, it instead does heal you equal to your tier level. Sand skin, passive. Your skin is coarse like sand and not easily scathed. You gain a +2 natural armor, which stacks with the armor you wear. Their skill proficiency bonuses are +to beast and +to survival. And their equipment proficiency bonuses are +to ceremonial kit or +to navigation tools.
When you read off Iron Gut, I immediately said, hey, these guys can eat British food.
Well, Monk, you know what? These are people from Saharan Africa during the early 1910s. There you go. But interesting little race. Desert people, very Fremen-like in some ways. Probably some of the inspiration was pulled from there. But also the fact that they have multiple stomachs in order to survive. Very cool. And then, of course, the ability to eat even poison and be healed by it. Mm-hmm. But with that all said, we move on to the Dandrick. They're handy with handguns, perceptive, and pack one hell of a punch. I like my car salesman voice.
The Dandrick. I'm a simple fella. I just woke up, grabbed my gun, my drink, and have a fun time. If you want to get in the way of my fun time, then we're going to have problems. I can promise you that much. A Dandrick Outlaw. Lady Luck is always by my side. The Dandrick use their superior noses and hearing to track down anyone and anything. They make for good hunters, but also can use their innate abilities to find lost children, catch criminals, or just cook a good meal. Most Dandrick keep a pistol or revolver by their side due to their tradition of gun drawing for alpha status. So they have a big iron on their hip. Physical description. Dandrick are brown-furred humanoid creatures with small claws and dog-like noses. Their ears are downturned and a bit pointy, and the males usually have fairly big hands. History. Dandrick are native to the desert frontier planet Doragon. They share this world with the vicious Naga, Skazik, and Besk, which they've infamously not gotten along with. Over 100 years ago, Dandrick used to hunt Besk for sport. The Dandrick have said their piece about it, and many don't practice this hunting nor support it any longer. With that being said, there still remains bad blood between the two groups.
I mean, over 100 years ago, all the elders from that time should have died, but we'll see.
Society. Doragon is home to many small towns that try their best to thrive among the harsh deserts that cover the planet. The Dandrick live in small towns, running small businesses, living day to day, trying to get by and enjoying it the best they can. Relations. Dandrick are friendly to most and just like having a good time. However, if one should ever cross a Dandrick, he is eager to be a dead man. Way of life. Dandrick tend not to overthink things. They prefer things to be as easy as possible and for matters to not be complicated. They do what they want, as they want, and try not to offend anyone in the process. But if they do, it's not their fault.
And with that, we reach their adventurers, monk.
Mm-hmm.
On the Dandrick's homeworld of Dorgon, there isn't much but sand, heat, and some skeletons. Dandrick tend to get excited about finding oddities, and as such, they enjoy new scenery. They value happiness, selfishness, and freedom. They despise depression, altruism, and order. Order is not necessarily the opposite of freedom. I'm not sure that I quite like that. So, with the male names, you can expect such names as Alico, Bronca, Donic, Havon, Lucius, Matthias, Ragwell, Relko, Sadas, and Thesis. With the female names, we have Celesta, Dragomira, Julieta, Livia, Marceta, Nadia, Natalia, Romina, Rosaline, and Vera. A lot of at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
Dandrick are an average of 5'5" tall, and thus again midgets to Monk and myself. Their size is considered medium. They have a speed of 6.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Was speed mentioned on the last one? Did I skip it? Oh, speed of 5.
You did.
Accidentally skipped the speed of 5 that the Besk have.
Mm-hmm.
The languages they know are common in Dandrin. Their speech, Dandrick tend to have a twang and a drawl to their voices. The drawl can be very pronounced or very subtle, depending on where they have grown up. Their age, 15 years is adulthood, 45 years is middle-aged, 75 years is old, and 112 years is an elder. They have weaknesses to fire and ice, but they also have dark sight. Mm-hmm. And their attribute bonuses, they are known, the Dandrick are known for their keen senses. However, they aren't the most educated. +2 to dexterity, +2 to wisdom, -2 to intelligence. And their racial skills. Keen senses, passive. Gain +TL. Is that tier level? Yeah, tier level on perception checks. Pistolero, a boost. You can spend 1 AP to gain edge on your next attack with a pistol, revolver, or hand cannon. Increase its range by 3 or target any part of the enemy unit. So if y'all remember, edge is the form of a disadvantage advantage in this game, except it has no real cap.
Mm-hmm.
And then savagery, passive, gain +1 d6 attack when attacking with your fists. So they're good at fisticuffs and plugging you full of holes. Mm-hmm. Their skill proficiency bonuses, +to mechanics, +to perception, and their equipment proficiency bonuses, +to game set or +to thieves tools.
I do find it amusing that for different reasons, both the Besk and the Dandrick make natural bounty hunters.
Mm-hmm. One's a pursuit predator, the other's a ambush predator.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, or I should say one's a persistent predator, the other's a pursuit predator, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
With that, we move on to the Dwarf. They're handy and hardy, proud and loyal, and they love a good time.
And of course, the dwarf image that we have has him with a axe, as any good dwarf would. Because remember,
why
folks,
axes?
Elves live in trees.
But I believe that is yours, Monk.
Mm-hmm. Living a hard-working but enjoyable life, dwarf. Bound by responsibility. Dwarves, above all else, believe in responsibility, favoring those that work hard and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. To wind down from a long day, they appreciate long nights of drinking. They can handle themselves incredibly well. Physical description. Short, stout, and human-like. Male dwarves usually sport giant beards, but all dwarves sport hardy muscles.
So now we've got the ubiquitous dwarven features, not just being short and bearded, but being short and muscly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fucking monk. It's a fucking race of tinkering gym bros and gym broettes. That's my headcanon now.
History. Dwarves have a history of keeping to themselves and enjoying personal freedom. The dwarves of Yomonoko reside in the land of Earth, where they are most known for practicing generosity. Dwarves who have migrated to Arkwyn have built a long history of tinkering and coming up with all sorts of crazy, alchemical, and robotic madness. Society. Dwarves enjoy getting their hands dirty and doing the jobs that many others won't do. They pride themselves on a day's hard work and won't shy away from offering a helping hand. Many dwarves can get worked up and stressed and can be quick to tease. Regardless, many ultimately enjoy the company of a dwarf, seeing them as great, reliable companions, whether it be in drinking, work, or battle. Or all three.
There we go. We've got the trifecta, Monk. Short, drink, and third thing. And third thing is usually either beard or muscle. There's no in between.
See, relations. Dwarves can be brash and their jokes can be a bit hurtful. However, they mean well and are honest and dependable, making it so many races enjoy, or at the very least tolerate, a dwarf's presence.
Monk, the dwarves are just short versions of you and me.
Way of life. Dwarves wake up early to a day of hard work ahead, and spend the nights with big groups of friends and family, blasting music and occasionally being obnoxious to those of other cultures. Dwarves tend to stick to the same job all their lives, preferring to do the daily routine instead of constantly changing things up where it's not needed. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is certainly a phrase that suits them. Dwarves like to keep a giant and happy family. They can ensure their household is taken care of because of the generous amount of work they do.
Indeed. And so now we get to adventurers. Usually adventurers isn't a dwarf's first choice. It's often a life without settling down, having a big family, or choosing a more stable job, which are all things that dwarves value greatly. However, a dwarf will seek adventure if it's called upon them as a necessity, or if they are an outcast of their society. They value hard work, responsibility, and community, but they despise laziness and complainers and selfishness. You hear all that? Now get out of me fucking swamp! Some of our great names you can hear from the males around our places are Ardo, Boric, Clunrad, Gulthor, Mandor, and Stoigrad. And the lasses. I can hear their sweetness in their names with names like Abo, and Boristris, and Camra, and Kemra, and Pepli, and Telis. Now we dwarves, we are a short folk. We're an average of 4'2", making us much smaller than Zan and Monk. Their size is considered medium. We have a speed of 5. We speak common and Dwarven. A Dwarven is just drunk, angry yelling. And as you can hear, we have heavy, gruff voices full of heart that can echo far and wide. It doesn't even take much. We get at adulthood at 16 years, we're middle-aged at 65, we're old when we're 112, and we're really packing on them elder years at 185. And we're kind of weak to fire. I don't know why. It doesn't make no sense to me, but, we're weak to fire. We got bonuses because we're known for our endurance and work ethic, but we lack grace. What are you talking about, we lack grace? +2 toughness, +2 resolve, -2 dexterity. Fuck you! I can make tiny shit! You only have to look at me fucking Gunpla collection! And then our race skills. We have Stout, which is a passive. We gain edge when we're resisting being knocked back or knocked down. I should hope so. Someone tries to knock me down and I punch them in the goddamn dick, they better fall. We have Grizzled, which is a passive. We gain edge when attacking with bludgeoning and slashing weapons. I'ma punch you in the dick! There we go! That's a bludgeoning weapon for sure! And then we got Hardy, which is a passive. We gain +5 health because we're very healthy people. Additionally, poison has a 50% chance of not affecting you at the time of consumption. And half the time you can't even poison us. Look at that! Our skill proficiency bonuses are in entertainment and influence. I think that should be obvious by now. And our equipment of proficiency bonus are artisan's tools or tinkerer's tools. Why do we have tinkerer's tools if you say we get a -2 to dexterity? What is this bullshit? What is this bullshit? I wonder if I've killed the fucking chat yet. Slick wonders how many spit takes my Scottish impression is doing.
Um, I had already finished my drink earlier, so no spit takes.
Oh, good. I wouldn't want you to get mad about having to clean that up.
Now, if Dragon or Slick Rick or anybody else had done spit takes out of the length of that impression, well, that is a case of num thump.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, we pass to the Diari. The Diari. The name I don't know how to pronounce. They're students of knowledge, hyper intelligent, and really good with spellcasting. They look like purple elves.
Although, this is the gun nut in me talking, but that is a really short stock.
It looks like. Ooh, but if you see that gap in the stock, Monk, that looks like where a bolt would reciprocate. So at least it's somewhat accurate. But yeah, the butt pad needs to extend out further and/or telescope.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we're dealing with futuristic weapons and all that, but although I came to a terrifying realization. Maybe that's bullpup.
No, I don't see any sort of magazine well at all.
So well, we are working on energy weapons. If by working I mean having a big ass prototype of a coil gun.
Yeah.
But Diari. Emotion has no dictation over what is right and what is wrong. Diaran belief. Paragons of the universe. The Diari are a race of intellect and beauty. Their society is of the most advanced, and they believe emotion to be a flaw and hindrance in the progressively advancing worlds. Oh, fuck, they're Vulcans.
Purple Vulcans. I hate purple Vulcans.
They are responsible for the development of guards, teleportation, space travel, elemental weaponry, and many other advances amongst the worlds. Physical description. The Diari are a humanoid race with pointy ears. Their skin varies in shades of blue and purple. History. The curiosity of Diari has always led them to pursue advancement in understanding and technology. They have now acquired reaches far beyond the other races. I feel like it's not a typo, but I feel like that should be rewritten a little. Developing guards, ships, anti-gravity technology, and more, all spread throughout the universe. Society. Diari are native to Christos and are governed by a council of the smartest in the galaxy. They often let logic dictate their actions rather than emotion. Fucking Vulcans. Relations. Diari watch over the galaxy and impose their rules and regulations throughout most of the known planets in the universe. Most species that hate the Diari are ones that align with evil due to punishment being inflicted upon them for their actions. Way of life. Most Diari view themselves as arbiters of right and wrong. This is most likely due to their superior knowledge and the many strides in technological advancement they have made, such as guards, starships, and energy-based weaponry. Their decisions are often based around the greater good.
God.
Shut it!
No, Monk. They aren't Vulcans. They're the Tau.
And they do not mind making choices others might find harsh if it offers stability to the universe.
They're the Tau. And now we get to the adventurers portion. But they're the Tau. They're blue and purple. The greater good. Logic and superior knowledge is the only thing that's a little different from the Tau. But even energy ranged weaponry and starships and stuff, Monk, they're the Tau. Space elf Tau.
It's like our Dragon says, so Vulcan Jedi. Nope. They are the unholy combination between Vulcans and the Tau from 40K.
Yes. And so their adventurers are as follows. Most Diari prefer putting their minds to the test and bettering themselves with mental challenges. This normally would override their desire to explore or battle, but they will do so if it's to serve their motives or directive. They value intelligence, practicality, and order. They despise ignorance, impracticality, and discord. Oh, well, I guess we can't use Discord anymore, Monk. Some male names are Aros, Anar, Krypsis, Dalek, Destrix, Ezer, Kilesk, Mavris, Slavius, and Vener. Some of their female names are Alesnia, Alicevil. Yes, I'm going to call that Alicevil. Cecilius, Drela, Elish, Guinevere, Elas, Mavirida, Lykelia, and Nydia. Diari stand at around 6 foot tall, still shorter than us, but at least at a respectable height. Mm-hmm. Their size is considered medium. They have a speed of 5. They speak Common and Diarine. And their speech. Diari pronounce each and every word very articulately, but this doesn't mean they speak slowly to sound out their words. Instead, they talk quickly and confidently. However, when speaking Common, it comes across as if they are still learning the semantics of it. There you go. My picture-perfect interpretation of Diarin. They are 16. They're adults at 16, middle-aged at 90, old at 200, and elders at 300. They have a weakness of fire. Everything's weak to fire. Their attribute bonuses. Diari are the most intelligent and resolute. However, their bodies are frail. +2 intelligence, +2 resolve, -2 toughness. And their race skills. Space Pilgrim, passive. Whenever you travel to a new city and spend at least 1 week's time there, determined by the GM, increase your maximum astral by 1. After spending 1 month there, increase your maximum astral by 3 instead. Thought Engineer is a passive, gain edge on intelligence checks. And Mystic Arts is a passive, increase your base astral by 3 times tier level. Their skill proficiencies are Astrana, which I'm guessing is the Arcana of this game, and Technology. And their equipment proficiency bonuses are a divining set or a science kit. So either you're a mystic or a scientist. There is no in between.
And then we get to the elf.
The actual elf instead of just the Diari. They are adventurous, intuitive, and they craft weapons. This is actually kind of lackluster. I hope we get better understanding in their actual dossier here.
Mm-hmm. The world gives us everything we need from an elf. Trial by exile. While there are many elves among the stars, the Rakti are among the most popular, hailing from the eclectic world of Zepitan. The Rakti elves are raised from birth to be warriors, explorers, and survivalists. At a young age, they are forced into exile, only allowed to return with the head of a creature as a trophy. This is a journey of growth for an elf and is the start of their adulthood. The better the trophy, the higher their ranking. Physical description. Elves are perhaps the most human-like species in Otherworlds. Elves have slightly pointy ears and are able to naturally have exotic hair and eye colors. History. Elves are supposedly closely connected to Celestials. They have a deep connection to Astral and have always relied on their instincts. Most elves reside on Zepitan, where their survival skills have been tested for as long as they can remember. The world is covered with metal monsters, ravenous bandits, and harsh landscapes, which have bred fighters among the elves. Society. Surviving on the outlands of Zepitan, elves believe that you earn your place in the world. At a young age, it's Rakti tradition to be cast out and only return once you've brought back a dead, worthy enemy. This leads to only strong-willed elves surviving and also allows for their communities to have an abundance of resources, given that many Rakti fail to return.
Sparta.
Relations. Like the humans, the Rakti elves value friendship, but even more so than humans, they value loyalty. It's not about liking who you're with as much as coexisting with them to reach the common goal. Way of life. Rakti elves tend to go to extreme lengths to follow their gut instincts and intuition. They think fast, on their feet, and react quickly. For elves, I don't hate these guys as much.
That's because they're not up their own ass. The Diari are the ones we hate because they're just like other elves that are up their own ass.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get to the adventurers of the elves. From a young age, elves must explore and survive to sustain their life in society. They love adapting to new unexplored environments and crafting their gear to match their own personal needs for any job. There's perhaps no species that enjoys exploring more than an elf. They value audacity, independence, and individuality. Holy shit, they're libertarians. They despise shyness, dependence, and normality. Yeah, they're definitely libertarians. Some male names among the elves: Castris, Daku, don't you mean Deku? Gabris, Kilix, Komaru, Yarm, and yes, that's a double L, so I'm going to pronounce it like a Y, like it is in most languages.
Mm-hmm.
Mar, Ralik, Ceres, Vek, and Zenith. The female names are Akaya, Dara, Eris, Gwyn, Kishara, Nexus, Nina, Sia, Vashti, and Zera. Elf traits, their size: standing at a little taller and leaner than humans. Rakti elves are an average of 5'9" tall and 143 pounds. Wow, we even got a weight. Their size is considered medium, but they're still shorter than us. They have a speed of 5. Their languages are Common and Raw, probably derived from Rakti.
Mm-hmm.
Speech. Elves enjoy adventure and picking up pieces of dialect and words from the people they encounter along the way. Oh god, they're weebs. Rakti that live in the south of Zepetin have an odd twang that one would only hear when visiting Down Under. I am not going to do an Australian impression. I can't do an Australian impression. Fuck all y'all. They are considered adults at 12, middle-aged at 50, old at 80, and elder at 100. So these are the common elves that age slowly. So again, the Diari are much more like fantasy elves than the elves are.
Mm-hmm.
And their weakness is, once again, fire. Elves are quick and attuned with the nature around them. However, their bodies are frail. +2 dexterity, +2 wisdom, -2 toughness. Their race skills: Wildborn, a passive, gain edge on wisdom checks. Custom-made weapons, a passive. When using weapons you've crafted, gain edge. Pathfinder, a passive. Gain edge when making any non-combat checks located anywhere other than in a city region. Holy shit! Equipment proficiency bonuses: craft and survival. Skill proficiency bonuses: thieves' tools or tinkerer's tools. I like these guys because they aren't immediately, oh, we're your lofty elvish magic casters. Which I don't know if we're we're still size medium, aren't we, Monk? 6'6" isn't size large yet.
No. We'll probably end up getting to something large size as we go on, but so far it hasn't happened yet. The closest we have is the Diari, and they peak at 6 feet.
Yeah, but yeah, these elves are they're artificers, Monk. They're nature artificers.
Mm-hmm.
And with them, we go beyond to the Phalanx. They're nimble, good at scouting, and they have a good eye for sniping.
The Phalanx. Here you go, my sweet flower. A Phalanx giving one of his youth a shiny trinket he found. Furry friends. The Phalanx are a particular race that enjoy the little things in life. They often do not care for many luxurious possessions, but do enjoy little trinkets and sentimental items. They often find themselves feeling the most comfortable in a small home with a family and friends. Phalanx are greatest known for their wit and their ability to run circles around most others, both mentally and physically. They tend to adore shiny items and trinkets, and love the thrill of stealing without being noticed, given their exceptional reflexes and wit. Most Phalanx, though, are warm-hearted and will only take from others if they are perceived as bad. Physical description. Phalanx often stand at about 5'2" and have a fox-like appearance. They have beady eyes that allow them to see exceptionally well in the dark, as well as a tail they may use to hold light items such as a dagger, or to swing from tree to tree. History. Long ago, Phalanx lived closed up in their own tribes led by shamans. Now, with the looming threats rising, many Phalanx have found a home living within the lands of the Leogan, who humbly protect them from Ornoks and other threats. In exchange, the Phalanx have made medicines, scout, and do other things that they prefer. Society. Living in the trees of Forgana, Phalanx prefer the comfort of others, and as such, love being in close-knit homes with family and friends. Relations. Fellings have a trusting nature and never judge a book by its cover entirely, but they still will never fully give their trust to someone until it's deserved. The Fellings share the world of Forgana with Leogan, and despite being seen as runts by them, they enjoy their company, leadership, and bravery. Way of life. Although some Felniks use their wits for deceitful purposes and may have traits of a kleptomaniac, most Felniks find friendships, family, and bonding to be most important. Why am I being reminded of halflings?
Why am I being reminded of Kinder without all the rampant kleptomania?
There can be some.
Tasselhoff just took everything. But with that, we get to their adventurers. Since Fellings enjoy the company of their friends and family so much, they tend to get homesick easily and are often not able to travel far from home without a proper cause. However, if a Fellings had many friends setting out on an adventure, it wouldn't be unheard of for them to want to join. They value reclusiveness, peace, and sentimentalism. They despise chaos, wrath, and apathy. Some male names are Ankanki, Dartanak, Egenostri, Ekisai, Eta Vivek. Oh, I see we avoided the Vivek name there. Virultak, Olamilakan, Onahiki, Tianaikura, and Reta Farik. Olamilakan was the hardest one to read there.
Mm-hmm.
Of their female names, we once again have Egenostri, then Dekita Natita, Hekmata, Lestina, Limlitvera, okay, Marpavira, Siratieria, Titilio, Yulia Vetra, and Zubahirir. Those are some nice names. I like those names. They're actually really, really quirky and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Their traits. Size. Fellings stand anywhere between 4'2" and 5'5" tall, so shorter than us, but taller than the Fellings from Monster Hunter. Their size is considered medium. Speed of 6, they speak Common and Felon. Fellings have a wide range of speech, everything from quiet and soft-spoken to outwardly excited. Either way, the common trait of a Fellings' speech is their jitteriness. They're considered adults at 20, middle-aged at 40, old at 60, and elder at 80. They have a weakness to both fire and ice, and they have dark sight. Their attribute bonus: Fellings are agile and are at home in the wilds, but their small bodies don't yield much strength. +2 dex, +2 wisdom, -2 strength. Their race skills: Deft is a passive, gain edge on dex checks. Nimble is a passive, gain plus tier level on acrobatics checks. I think that's supposed to say prehensile. That's that is a typo.
Mm-hmm.
Pensile isn't an actual word. So I do suggest that prehensile be the correction there. It's a prehensile tail that is a passive. You're able to use your tail as an additional hand, capable of picking up and using small items with it. They have a skill proficiency bonus in acrobatics and perception, and their equipment proficiency bonuses are Apothecary Kit or the Artisan's Kit. I just like these guys because they're little fox monkeys.
Yeah, although with the fox thing, I was going to say, are these the ancestors to Finn?
Or his descendants.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be just like Finn to fuck a furry as a joke. But with that, Monk, we get to the best race, or worst race, depending on some people. The human. They're ambitious, they're quick to expand, and they're good with adapting.
Let's step toward progress together. A human welcome pamphlet.
Oh god, they're communists.
Variety is the spice of space. Humans are creatures of a wide variety of emotion, ambition, and drive. They are easily the most diverse among the worlds. Humans cherish the bonds they share with others, but can just as easily be selfish and cater only to their own needs. Physical description. Humans have many shapes and sizes. Their hair colors tend to be brown, black, blonde, and sometimes red. Their eye colors tend to be brown, blue, or green. Humans, however, tend to love personalizing themselves and artificially give themselves various blends of hair and eye colors.
They're all a bunch of chunibios. They're communist chunibios.
History. Humans have a long history of curiosity. Whether it's a good or bad thing can be debated, but regardless, when the humans of Anthos ended the Thousand Years' War, they saw an opportunity to connect with the rest of the galaxy, meet others, and form alliances. Nothing's been the same ever since. Society. Humans live across all planets, but are predominantly known for inhabiting Anthos. Their society ranges from place to place, but democracy is a common concept in human societies, as is capitalism. Humans are known for being a bit greedy and selfish, but are equally revered for having a few standout individuals who have been noted to be extremely selfless and caring. Relations. Humans have a positive relation to most of the other species. Some of the bigger species, such as the Ornok and Vanticar, refer to humans as fragile beings, both in size and in their emotions. Other species, like the elves, value humans for their need for friendship. Way of life. Humans can be just as heroic as they can be devious, and as such vary the most in terms of both their morals and motives.
So humans are, well, humans. Mm-hmm. You know humans, people. But let's just assume because they changed the galactic fabric by going out onto it, let's just assume there's a little bit of humanity fuck yeah in all these people. Mm-hmm. And so let's get to what is usually the most humanity fuck yeah about humanity. They're adventurers. Although some are timid, shy, and would rather play it safe at home, humans in general have always been known and admired for their sense of exploration and their need to keep pushing the boundaries in terms of traveling to new areas and new ways of pissing off Monk. They value morals, emotions, and relationships. They despise amorality, apathy, and disassociation. Some male names you may hear amongst the humans in this game. Athen, Davin, Graham, Iselton, Jace, Jonathas, Kynus, Reese, Taliesin, and Vincent. Nice way that he plugged himself in there, isn't it, Monk? Female names: Amy, Alice, Cassandria. That's an interesting variant. Fiona, Helena, Jennifer. That's the most normal name we've seen so far. Jessica. Variant spelling: Larisha, Sabelle, and Tristana. Wait a minute, when did this become League of Legends? Human traits. Size. Humans stand normally between 5 foot and 6'5" tall. Now we're getting to reasonable heights. Mm-hmm. Their size is considered medium. Speed of 5, the only language they know is common. Humans vary in how they speak. A human may be loud and boisterous, quiet and soft, or anything in between, including a wide variety of dialects and accents. They're considered adults at 18, middle-aged at 50, old at 65, and elder at 80, and again, weakness is fire. We can all attest to the fact that humans are weak to fire.
And if anybody wants to disagree, good. We have a volunteer.
We have a volunteer to test, yeah. We can do like the Tibetan monk did. The attribute bonuses humans get. Humans are curious and ambitious, always seeking knowledge to better themselves, even if it leads to their own destruction. +2 to intelligence, +2 to resolve, -2 to wisdom. That's not a normal minus we see associated with humans in most fantasy and sci-fi games. Mm-hmm. And the race skills that a human possesses. Adrenaline. It's a passive. Humans are frail, with a short lifespan compared to other beings. When injured, their fight or flight kicks in to a higher degree. When at 6 or less health, you gain edge on all rolls you make, and +1 speed. Yeah, that sounds like an adrenaline boost. Influencer. Passive. Humans are the most adaptive species, learning to expand their networks. Increase your starting guild by 1,000 guild. Additionally, gain +1 influence. Destined. Passive. Humans will go to any length to achieve what they deem as most important. Gain edge on resolve checks. Skill proficiency bonuses in investigation and lore. equipment proficiency bonuses in either an investigation kit or performance kit. So while humans are humans, they're still unique within this system.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Which is that's so it's always a tricky thing to do humans when it comes to race design, because the easy way out is to give them a bunch of wild cards, like how more ubiquitous games will give them say a gimme when it comes to some sort of customizable aspect like feats. Or when it comes to, or let's look at 13th Age, which had it that instead of getting 2 boosts and 1 penalty, you just pick 1 boost from any of the base attributes,
which was actually really, really cool.
Oh, they also had the whole quick to fight thing, but more often than not, you see humans represented as having these Joker designs with their racial abilities.
Yeah, and in some cases it works. In 13th Age, it definitely works really well. And in other cases, it doesn't. But in this case, we have. I would say that this is kind of another Joker design with some of the racial traits, but the attribute spread is definitely within the area of just normal design amongst all the races, because they all have 2+2s and a -2.
Mm-hmm.
So that was surprising. I actually really appreciated the fact that humans were given a minus in the attribute department.
Yeah.
But with that, we get on to Lionel. I mean, the Leogin. Powerful leaders, heavy hitters, pecs that deflect. If their pectoral muscles can actually deflect blaster fire, I'm going to laugh.
And this is the first one that doesn't have a quote at the top.
Wow.
Large and in charge. The Leogin are a prideful and noble race that believe the greatest trait is a combination of loyalty and bravery. Despite being incredibly intimidating due to their size and battlefield presence, the Leogin are fiercely loyal and will often risk their own lives to save their comrades. Physical description. The Leogin stand at around 6'7" on average. They are built very muscular, and most males are seen with a mane of sorts, sometimes even braided for decoration. They have paws, claws, sharp teeth, and tiger-like stripes. History. Leogin have ruled the lands of Forgana since its inception. Many clans battled each other for supremacy, as other races fought each other in the background for smaller territories. In the last century, Leogin have formed a stronger connection with the Felniks, and have taken more steps to protect them from Ornok, who'd otherwise hunt them. Society. Leogin love to lead, and therefore don't typically take orders well unless they have full trust in their leader, in which case they will be most loyal to them and die for their cause. Way of life. Leogin tend to worship such positive traits as inner strength and bravery. Relations. Knowing they are bigger and more battle-oriented, the Leogin have taken it upon themselves to protect the Felniks whenever they can. Amongst themselves, they are generally nice to one another, but because of their competitive nature, often challenge each other to friendly bouts, such as arm wrestling.
It's Lion people and Lion-O all over again. It's the Thundercats. They're the fucking Thundercats. Let's not beat around the bush here, people. Lion-O would get in with these people perfectly.
Probably Link so as well, even if he's blind.
This is true. But with that, we get to the adventurers of the Leogin. Almost any Leogin is up for a challenge and adventure. They would see an adventure as a form of competition. They value bravery, loyalty, and community. They despise cowardice, deceitfulness, and seclusion. Some of their names among the males are Abos, Braith, Brisgar, Dardat, Karambe, Ephris, Masbor, Okambe, Shishoshi, and Tijet. Some of the female names are Kra, Kovu, Jelba, Larisha, Meira, Miara, Rakasha. I was about to say Rakshasa, but that's something else entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Rala, Sekma, and Shiku. Leogan traits. Size. Leogan are massive, standing at around 6'8" and nearly 350 pounds, so people finally bigger than Monk and myself. Their size is considered large at 6'8". So, speed is 5, language is Common and Libra. Why would something that is Leo speak Libra? That doesn't make sense. These people are lion people, not people who use the scales. Sad now.
We'll probably see something in that later on. Way late when we get to some of the setting stuff.
True. Speech. The Leogan are a proud people, and as such they speak with great authority and conviction. It's difficult for a Leogan not to proclaim their words in a booming manner. They are considered adult at 14, middle-aged at 60, old at 80, and elder at 110 years. And they are weak to both fire and ice, and they have dark sight. Their attribute bonuses. Leogan are stronger and tougher than anything they come up against, but their brawn comes with a lack of focus on knowledge. +2 strength, +2 toughness, -2 intelligence. They have their racial skills. They have brawn as a passive, which is gain edge on strength checks. Battle roar, an active, the first active action we have. Friendly units that can hear you gain edge on all rolls made this round. Holy shit. Power of Pride, a passive. As long as no friendly units are at 0 health or dead, you gain edge when attacking and on strength and toughness checks. So long as your party is still alive, you get edge on strength and toughness? What? And then skill proficiency bonuses are athletics and influence. Equipment proficiency bonuses are climbing tools or medical kit. So these guys are...
Why am I thinking of Klingons?
Part of it is slightly Klingonish, sure, but if I had to give it a sci-fi bent, Monk. Indeed. Do you agree?
I can't disagree.
For those of you who didn't get the joke, go watch Stargate SG-1.
Or just watch it anyway.
That too. Good show. Mm-hmm. And so the Leogan are your big tough guys that like loyalty and camaraderie. Mm-hmm. And I think they just sound neat. But not to downplay anybody else who comes next and looks like a Ninja Turtle gone wrong. We have the Ornok, large and in charge. Beats you silly and can alter spells. I don't like that last one.
Drown them till they boil. Ormok saying for cook them alive. Terrifying as a hungry Ornok, a common expression among people. Burly bruisers. The Ornok are gnarly and hulking and are characterized by their shades of green skin. Physical description. Giant, grotesque brutes with a variety of green skin tones. Their bodies are covered in many warts and bubbles that secrete scents of their choice. History. Ornok are the most infamous for their history with the Felniks, who they used to frequently hunt and eat for sport. Since then, the Leogan have taken upon themselves to ally with the Felniks, preventing the Ornok from hunting them as easily as they had in the past. Society. The Ornok typically live in small villages or off on their own. Many become hermits and eat any nearby wanderers. Ornok are easily angered and do not get along with others easily. The Ornok can adjust to living within a structured urban society, but typically put their own needs before society's rules. Relations. Ornok will work together if needed, especially if they are allying together to take down opposing forces. Other than that, they don't typically get along well with each other, and especially not with other races. The Ornok are gross and relish in it. Way of life. Some Ornok worship food more than anything, and in general will do anything for an appetizing meal. The Ornok tend to be selfish, always putting themselves before any others. Ornok spend their days by themselves, often hunting and cooking. I am being reminded of ogres in Warhammer Fantasy. Zan, you alive?
Yes, I'm still here. I don't know what happened there. I guess my microphone decided to die for a second. I don't know. But these guys are big trolls or ogres or something, but they're definitely not turtles. Let's not waste the turtles on them and move on to their adventurers. Ornok will normally keep to themselves, but will ally with others if it's for their own well-being. They value gluttony, selfishness, and power. They despise temperance, selflessness, and weakness. Male names: Brong, Groshnok, Hook, Calgrim, Pelpro, Ramgraw, Oppo, and Oxdor. Female names. Do they even have females? Berta, Kudja, Dirtha, Margrick, Morntar, Ronsha, Samoda, Shinar. Ornok are around 8 feet tall. Their size is considered large. They have a speed of 4. 8 feet tall, Jesus. Mm-hmm. Their languages are common in Orno. Their speech, male Ornok are loud and boisterous with their tone. Female Ornok tend to sound like old witches. Okay. So Geralt would hunt them. Got it. They're considered adults at 30 years, middle-aged at 300 years, old at 425 years, and an elder at 500. They are the longest living race we've seen thus far.
Mm-hmm.
They are weak to fire, like every fucking thing else, but they have a resistance to poison. Their attribute bonuses. Ornok are big and burly, but lack likability due to their demeanor. They have +2 strength and +2 toughness, but -2 to resolve. And their race skills. Girth, a passive. You gain an additional health per each toughness you have. Ornok Odor, a boost. As an Ornok, you possess the unique ability to manipulate the typical foul scent that wafts from your pores to be any scent of your choice. For 1 AP, these scents can heal all adjacent downed units by 1, calm them to help relieve stress, help with sleep, cause a panic, and more. How you use these scents is up to you. It's fucking biological warfare through aromatherapy. And then another race that has an active race skill, Wood Trace. By placing your hand on any wooden surface, you can recall its properties and all who have touched it. Additionally, you can harden it immediately with your astral, draining so little of it that it doesn't consume astral, increasing its durability by your tier level. For example, if you're tier level 3, the wood's durability would increase ×3. Okay. Skill proficiency bonuses are craft and medical, and their equipment proficiency bonus is an apothecary kit or a ceremonial kit.
Mm-hmm. I do get some orc vibes, I do get some old school orc vibes, but I especially get vibes of the ogre, especially with the whole thing of girth and them liking food.
Yeah, their gluttony definitely makes them more like an ogre or troll.
Wouldn't be surprised if in ancient days they had gut plates.
Yeah. Looks like they still need them too. But with that, we move on to Bert Kreischer. I mean, the machine! They are built for purpose, well-equipped, and tech-savvy. I should hope they're tech-savvy.
What does it mean to be alive? Machine. H311-0. My name is... insert name. I'm happy to be given life through this character creation process, assuming... that is, you choose to go with me. By the way, according to my analysis, there are 99 reasons to choose me. I'm sorry, I feel I'm holding you up. Go on, continue with your work. Dude, fourth wall!
You missed the first part of the fourth wall break, Monk. H3311-0 is hello. In Leet speak.
Yep. Physical description. Machines come in all shapes and sizes, but most are humanoid in both size and shape. They are mostly characterized by being artificially designed, usually by means of electricity, but sometimes astral, steam power, or other resources are used. History. On most worlds, machines are recent innovations. Anthos has the largest population of them, despite Christos having the most advanced society. While Christos has more AI, smart devices, and advanced technology, their military is well trained and armed, and they haven't been experiencing any ongoing threats as Anthos has. Anthos sees machines as a great answer to the ongoing threat of the Chimera, who've been running more and more rampant over the years. With this threat, Anthos has dictated that many of the taxpayers should fund these bots as defense for these cities and its walls. The machines of Anthos tend to be the most militaristic and streamlined, not leaving much to the imagination. By comparison, Arkwin has all sorts of tinkerers who love creating their own versions of these constructs as a grand artistic display, even holding competitions for it. Society. Machines only live in advanced societies and are often designed to aid a specific purpose. Whether that's to provide information to tourists or to kill every single hostile threat. Relations.
Yes, that was punctuated per word, guys.
Relations. Many other races don't like the inclusion of machines because it feels so unfamiliar to them. Despite this, many do learn to like a construct that's helping them as they see the benefit in having such help. Way of life. Machines live their day-to-day lives performing the functions of their programming. They don't do recreational activities unless programmed to do so.
They are Bender, insert girder. With that, I think we get an idea of what the machines are like. There are typical droids or anything of that nature. And so we'll move on to their adventurers. Machines are made with a purpose. That purpose could be to guard someone, seek someone, or even find a treasure. All things that lend themselves well to adventure. They value whatever they're programmed to value. They despise whatever they're programmed to despise. And some non-binary names are Code 6184, Cruise, Data, Excal, or Junk. Man, he really pulled some deep cuts there, didn't he? Their machine traits are typically human-sized, but can be built to be any size. They have a speed of 5. They have a language of common. Their speech. Machines are artificial and thus have a difficult time speaking in ways that many others would consider normal. Their age. Machines aren't weakened by the frail confinements of mortality. And now, finally, for some changes in weaknesses and resistance. Weakness. Acid and lightning. Makes sense. Resistance. Fire and ice. Finally, something that's not weak to fire. Immune to status effects. And they have dark sight. Their attribute bonus, machines are artificially made with superior strength and intellect, but lack the nuances of perceptiveness. +2 strength, +2 intelligence, -2 wisdom. And their race skills. Robotic. Being a construct, your health stat is instead durability, making it so you don't heal by typical means, such as medkits, or magical spells, such as cure. Built-in function passive. Working with your GM, create an idea for a built-in function for your construct. These functions shouldn't be weapon-based. Consider a built-in refrigerator, navigational tracking, x-ray vision, or something else. Built-in refrigerator? Jesus. Somebody was thinking about having a walking mini-fridge. Artificial intelligence, passive. Gain plus tier level on technology checks. Reboot, passive. When you're downed, if your death check result is a 6, you repair your durability by 1. Additionally, as long as you have your core processor intact, you can be rebuilt with your original memories and abilities. Skill proficiency bonuses, mechanics and technology, equipment proficiency bonuses, hacking tools, or a jetpack. Or a jetpack, Jesus Christ. So the machines are, well, exactly what they say on the tin. It seems like they're a very highly customizable race, too.
I get the feeling it's only a matter of time before somebody does their own XP of HK-47 or Legion.
I was going to say HK-47, Legion, IT-88, RoboCop. A fully robotic RoboCop. I I like
Probably probably V1 as well.
yep, or V'ger.
Hmm.
I really like the idea of the machine just as a from a world standpoint. Um, and much like in Veil of the Void, they're very unique compared to the other races, like the prototypes were in Veil of the Void.
Hmm.
So that's always nice to see that that sort of futuristic thing has been considered, taken care of, and given its own unique spin.
Hmm.
I very much appreciate that our machines are this way, and I'm sure Bert Kreischer would too. But that being said, we move on to the seductress of the night. The vampire, dark and mysterious, blood-stealing, healing, certainly sexy.
Vampire, also known as Verothian. I enjoy art and killing. Unfortunately for you, I can only make a living doing one of those things. Vivian. Vampires of the Night. Living on the edge of the universe, the vampires that inhabit the planet Transcell, he's a little on the nose there, are known as the Verothan.
Does that mean that Frankenfurter lives there?
The Verothan thrive as being the upper class, using their wit, power, and population to overrule others. They tend to enjoy the finer things in life, and blood is at the top of their list. Using their knowledge of shadows, deceit, and life-draining fangs, they are lethal adversaries. Physical description. Generally the size of an average human, the Verothan have sharp fangs that enable them to extract blood and slightly pointed ears. Verothan take pride in themselves and their appearances. They often look as healthy as possible, outside of having very pale white skin. They often complement their pale bodies with black makeup. Naturally, Verothan have black hair, pale skin, and red eyes. On rare occasions, they may have purple eyes. They also typically have beautiful hair, which they like to show off by growing it long and wearing it in different fashions. History. For hundreds of years, King Ravnos ruled the lands of Transcell with an iron fist. Luckily, he was a Verothan himself, so many Verothan had it easier than the werefolk and the rest of society. Even so, his bloodthirsty reign caused a lot of hostility in the world, which led to 2 rebellions. The second was successful, and King Ravnos was cut down by one of his own top-ranked commanders. Now, with Commander Vexus as king, undercutting the power from the werefolk yet again, who lost the most blood during the rebellion, he's enacted a more fair rule, quote-unquote, but things are still far from peaceful. Society. Verothan live in a very aristocratic manner, with counts being of the highest rank. They revel in high status and love to be revered as something amazing. Relations.
One aristocracy.
Relations. Verothan look down on other species, seeing them as nothing more important than blood waiting to be taken or waste that isn't worth their time. They typically are cruel to their own species as well, unless their social status is of the same merit. Way of life. Verothan may be harsh to those they deem as lower or insignificant, but have a strong sense of blood relation to one another and will ultimately help their own kind, and perhaps in a few instances an acquaintance of another race. Most Verothan are lawful, but some are more blood-crazed and become addicted to killing for blood, regardless of the rules and regulations. It's said that Verothan can live forever and are the only race capable of immortality. This is likely due to their ability to siphon life from other living creatures. Theoretically, if a Verothan is never harmed, they will live indefinitely as long as they continue feeding on blood.
So we have our typical vampires, very typical. Selfish, somewhat cruel, a little bit apathetic about anyone that isn't them, slightly narcissistic, very powerful because they're fucking vampires. These are almost typical B-roll movie vampires.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love me some good B-schlock vampires. It's great. But let's see how their adventurers act. The Verothan are mostly found on their homeworld, Transcell, but may be spotted on other planets if hired there. Most Verothan that aren't born wealthy travel to become mercenaries and bounty hunters. They value envy, pride, and greed, 3 of the 7. And they despise kindness, humility, and charity, again, 3 of the 7. Some of the male names for Verothen are Axel, Alaric, Anselm, Brune, Eldamur, Elsic, Kellis, Luca, Severian, and Viven. Some female names for the Verothen are Claudel, Elsa, Isabel, Helma, Jacqueline, Luna, Octavia, Rosaria, Teresa, Zelda, and Ziska. Zelda's a vampire? I mean, maybe she sucks as good as one, accounting for Link's happiness, but I don't know about that. Their sizes. Tall and slender, Verothen stand at an average of 5'11". Their size is considered medium. They have a speed of 6, they know languages of Common and Vampiric. Verothen speak boldly, as if they are superior to those around them. Various accents of Verothen will be heard across their homeworld of Transcell. They're considered adults at 13 years old, middle-aged at 100, old at 200, and an elder at 1,000. And their weaknesses are fire and lightning, and they have dark sight. Their attribute bonuses, Verothen are deft and witty, but lack the physical endurance of many other races. They get +2 dex, +2 intelligence, -2 toughness. And their racial skills, they're vampiric. Healing magic, including potions, harm you instead. To heal, you must feed on blood. Good to know that killing a Verothen is as good as squandering your own healing supplies. Shadow Step, a passive. You can't be heard when moving. That's just plain not fair. Blood Drain, an action. You may bite others, draining their blood. Make a melee attack with your fangs. This attack has lifesteal, dex plus tier level plus 2d6. I'm guessing that's the damage.
Mm-hmm.
Darting Shadows, a passive. Gain edge when evading. Jesus. Skill proficiency bonuses, Stealth and Silver Tongue. And equipment proficiency bonuses of Disguise Kit and or Poisoner's Kit. That's something, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that like I said, that's like your typical movie vampire. That's very nice to see in something like this. Your typical movie vampire.
Although since we talked about XPs, I'm pretty sure there's one inevitable XP I could see happening.
The Bird of Hermes is my name, eating my wings to make me tame.
Tempting, but he would probably count as an elder vampire. But no, what I was gonna go with instead is some motherfuckers just want to ice skate uphill.
You're only saying that because you're black.
No, I'm saying that because of foreshadowing for Sunday.
I get to make this joke twice in 1 week? Happy day! I can see it. So, our last set of peoples, and it is a set of peoples. There's a lot more to them for obvious reasons, but I will read their blurb first. The Vanticar, dragon relatives, elemental breath, brutalizers.
The only company a coward shall find is that of the eternal flames. Vantagar in Scripture. All the rage. The Vantagar are a brutish race native to Brutana, who believe that battle is where their souls truly shine. Ruthless as they are cunning, the Vantagar love getting up close and personal to deal devastating damage. Physical description. Vantagar are a dragon-like humanoid race with sharp teeth, claws, and a tail. Vantagar are covered with scales and have a myriad of eye colors, often reflecting their magical breath. History. More so than any other race, the Vantagar have had much infighting among their race. It is largely due to the fact that they absolutely love fighting, as it releases so many chemicals in their brains that there's literally no better feeling for them.
They're literal battle junkies.
Many territories used to be led by dragons, with each clan serving under its dragon. However, as technology became more advanced, the Vanticar turned on their leaders, enslaving them or outright killing them. Now, fewer dragons than ever exist, and the ones that do are shackled, serving the military might of the Vanticar. Society. In most Vanticaran societies, there is a king that rules with an iron fist over the land. Vanticar typically do not like to subjugate themselves to rule, and often disband in favor of fending for themselves. Vanticar in society tend to be blacksmiths, butchers, or enforcers. In Vanticaran society, it is important to fight many enemies in battle and always win, and to prove a high social status. A Vanticar that loses battles will oftentimes be killed publicly, and kings are frequently challenged for power. Relations. Most races do not trust the Vanticar because of their brutish ways and lack of care for others. Vanticar typically don't care what others think of them, as they believe their dragon heritage makes them superior in all aspects. They are not the most intelligent, but make up for it with their battle-hardened experience, making them among the fiercest in combat. Way of life. Vanticar love being in power and love doing as they wish, free of rule.
So yeah, these are our Dragonborn, but these are not your typical 5th edition Dragonborn.
Or these even 4th edition.
Yeah. These guys are literal battle junkies. As it said, it releases so many chemicals in their head that fighting makes them high, basically. And they love to battle and they love to be free. These are monk. They're just barbarians. They're just barbarians. But with that, we get into an interesting section, mainly because the traits are going to be a little more convoluted. Adventurers. Vanticar love a good fight, as they feel like nothing is a real challenge for them. They will often seek tough monsters and warriors to defeat in battle to prove their status. So that's the reason they adventure. They value wrath, tenacity, and action. They despise peace, meekness, and inaction. Some male names are Gavro, Kazimar, Kurvesh, Ralroth, Temer, and Jinker. Balikzar, Draknor, Ovak, and Kozma. Some female names are Drea, Viraran, Kamaldra, Thurbis, Korith, Vanya, Yaldamir, Renda, and Leoshlas. Then, for their traits, there's the fact that they are descended from dragons. Vanticar are known for their dragon ancestry, which determines what type of breath weapons they possess, horn shape, and scale color. When creating a Vanticar character, determine what type of ancestry they have. Breath weapons that fire in a line, such as brass, bronze, copper, gold, and silver, are of the most rare, but nothing is more rare than the black and lead dragons. They added a new dragon type for both. Well, no, black dragons were around. So they just added one new type for the metallics. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Their sizes, they stand around 6'6" and are weighing almost 300 pounds. So they're our size, Monk, just a bit beefier. Mm. And 6'6" is considered size medium. So there you go. Speed is 5. They speak Common and Bruta. And then their speech. Vanticar have a long lifespan and a long tradition of warfare, without too much of a focus on the literary aspects of education. Thus, most Vanticar speak in a basic manner using common words. They're considered adults at 12, middle-aged at 130, old at 180, and an elder at 240. A Vanticar may live to be thousands of years old, but their average lifespan is cut drastically due to the high fatality rates of the brutal combat they endure. Weaknesses, determined by their ancestry, and resistance, also determined by their ancestry. Vanticar are strong conquerors, unable to be deterred by many things that would kill a man. However, what they practice in war, they lack in knowledge. They get +2 strength, +2 toughness, and -2 to intelligence. And their race skills. Dragon Breath, which is an action. Range is normally a 30 by 20 foot cone, allows you to breathe elemental damage of the type in your dragon ancestry. It does toughness +3d6. You can use the skill up to your tier level times per day. You have the Dragon Blood passive. When you are reduced to 0 health, at the start of your next turn, your health becomes 1. This is a limit once per day. We have Dragon Scales. Gain resistance to the element in your dragon ancestry. And we have proficiency bonuses of +2 athletics and beast, might, and then equipment proficiency bonuses of either climbing tools or navigation tools. But then we have the table of dragon ancestries.
Mm-hmm.
No, they did add a new one, gray and lead. Those aren't in the normal chromatic metallic scheme in the most ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
So, these ancestries, black, one of the rarest. It does poison damage. It's weak to lightning. Its range is tier level times 10-foot cone, and the description says that some of the things you get are 2 giant horns belting out from each side and curving backwards towards the center. Blue does ice damage and is weak to fire. Does tier level times 10 foot in a cone. They get 2 short spiky horns that protrude backwards. Brass is fire but weak to lightning. 10 by 40 foot line. 10 foot by 40 foot line. Has fiend-like horns. Bronze does petrify but is weak to acid. 10 feet by 40 feet line. 2 giant horns that go out to the side and curve up and around the back towards the center. So the same as black almost there.
Mm-hmm.
Copper does acid and is weak to petrification. It's 10 feet by 40 foot line. It has multiple spiked horns. Gold dragon is lightning that's weak to poison. Tier level times 10 foot cone. They have long and tall horns. Green does acid damage, is weak to ice, does tier level times 10 foot cone. Horns that stick up with a slight curve of them. Gray does petrify but is weak to ice. Has tier level times 10 foot cone with 2 lightning shaped horns. Lead dragon is poison that's weak to petrify, does a 10 by 40 foot line. Has 2 spiked horns protruding straight back with a curve. We have red, which is fire that's weak to acid, tier level times 10 foot cone, backwards horns with a simple downward curve. Silver is ice weak to fire, 10 by 40 foot line, and has antler style horns. And white is lightning that's weak to poison, which would be tier level times 10 foot cone, and elaborate antler styled horns. Mm-hmm. A lot of variety there. A lot of variety there, and a lot of things that aren't actually weak to fire. Look at that. That's nice.
Yep. So next up. So with that in mind, that covers all of the races. Even the ones that would be standard fantasy races do a few unique things to make them stand out. I didn't think I'd see a situation where I'd find elves as a race that I actually like. But we certainly have that here.
Not all elves can be the haughty up their own asses elves that we hate, Monk.
I suppose some might make the argument that the elves in this one are more akin to wood elves, but even wood elves can be assholes.
Just in different ways.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I'd say the only one that's exactly what I expected it to be is the dwarf.
You even got a dwarfy voice to go with it.
Yep, the return of Angus.
Angus! I still haven't decided what to call him.
Yeah, the machine being not just high tech but also possibly steam tech or magitech put some ideas in my head.
I want to make a machine entirely out of magical crystals.
Mm-hmm. And truth be told, one of the ideas that's always been in the back of my head if I ever wrote a space opera has always been a machine that has a butler personality, and one would think I'd be going with Alfred with this. No, I'm going with Norman.
Mm-hmm.
The person who would point the biggest gun and say, kindly leave the premises, please. Huh. Just because I think that would be an interesting juxtaposition of the like, and even Star Wars has the whole thing where the longer a droid is in service, the more quirks it acquires.
Yeah.
To the point that they start developing their own personality.
Something like that. I mean, we see it with a couple of the main droids.
Mm-hmm.
So it certainly does show the potential.
And some unfortunate versions of it in the form of 2 VR8 from the Old Republic, which nobody likes 2 VR8. I think Chuck said it best when he said he was okay for the first day. He was tolerable for the first week. After that, I wanted to murder him. There is, of course, the gag that we could say with so many of them being weak to fire, but then again, most things are going to be weak to fire.
Yeah.
And I'd say some of the ones that I found especially interesting were ones like the Besk.
Mm-hmm.
Both the Besk and Dandrick being natural bounty hunters is something fascinating. And I do like that with the. It would be very tempting to put some sort of thirst mechanic when it comes to the vampire, but fortunately we don't have that.
Yeah.
That's a common pitfall I see in games that have a vampire as a race, or in some weird cases a class. Yeah, we'll get to that eventually. Not for this series, but look, as much as I defend 4E, the choice to have a vampire class was still fucking weird. And of course, it's much like with Veil of the Void. It's flexible enough where you could easily fill in some of the gaps with your own races. I can certainly think of a few, because I've always liked the approach of metallic dragons are good aligned and chromatic ones are evil aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something I'd probably explore in my own time. But that is going to do it. But what about you? What's your take on the races that we have?
Many of them feel unique to this particular setting. I've certainly have seen some small analogs in other games of probably every one of them that's on here, but each of them has enough of their own, attributes and quirkiness that they're unique to the setting of Otherworlds.
Mm-hmm. So
I really like the idea of them also always providing some sort of it's like a starting package. It's some sort of flavor that your character can start with. So that definitely lends itself to more customization. All in all, I like it.
Yeah. Now, with that said, next week we will be handling the introduction to classes, as well as covering the talent trees, or rather the skill tree for the warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I say classes, but Otherworlds doesn't handle classes in the way you'd expect or the way we've handled classes in previous seasons of Valley of the Judged. Largely because classes are essentially a package. And it's a package that is built very much on its on the choice of skill trees, which, as mentioned before, one of the big inspirations was Borderlands, and that DNA is going to be present here.
Yeah.
I would say that it's we're not going to be dealing with full on freeform, and there are some baseline stuff with classes. In fact, the more that I think about it, the more I'd say that if there's any analog when it comes to classes, it'd probably be what we're doing.
Yeah, probably.
Now, granted, this one has more moving parts than our quote unquote classes.
Yes, our game is meant to achieve something much different, though. So,
mm-hmm.
Game is designed for what it's achieving.
Mm-hmm. Similar but different, and it's stupid easy to build your own class with this system. It'll also go into some of the starting stuff that you get, as well as the leveling setup, and we have 3 scales of leveling. Okay. Although truth be told, if I'm running a campaign myself, I rarely deal in doling out XP unless it's a currency based XP system. Mm-hmm. More often than not, you're going to see me use a milestone system. But I'm not expecting Otherworlds to follow my weird ass way of doing things, because it's my table. I'll do what I want.
Mm-hmm.
and of course, the other thing is, as somebody who had to suffer through some of the bullshit of the early days, the idea of different classes having different XP thresholds was fucking stupid.
Very.
So imagine how it feels when you're doling out XP after a party's first adventure, and everybody but the mage levels up.
That would be terrible.
Because that happened more than once, and I know we have the whole thing of fuck mages in the most ubiquitous RPG, but I don't have anything against mages. I don't have anything against the class itself. I have more beef with the people who main it and are entitled dicks.
Yeah.
But still, everybody's leveling up except for that one guy. That's a good way to put a damper on the mood. But next week we'll also be going into the variety of skills, and some of the class traits would technically count as skills.
Mm-hmm.
And there is of course also the fact that there's the variety of skills that we saw throughout the races. That's still going to be present when we deal with the classes. And okay. I'd say outside of that, it is probably going to be a bit long. It is probably going to be a bit longer, because there's quite a few. There isn't a massive amount of skills, but there's a good skill path for each skill tree, and there is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 skill trees for the fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And as mentioned before, the skill trees can be grouped up into either fighter, mage, or rogue. So once again, we're doing the Holy Trinity.
Of course.
Instead of it be, even though it's referred to as a tree, it isn't as sprawling as some ability trees that we've seen. Unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be enough traps. Mm-hmm. But with that in mind, we will see you next week for the next episode of Valley of the Judged. And while I will be having some interviews over the next few days, as mentioned before, including a few more late additions. Mm-hmm. And come back on Sunday for the return of Geek Watch, as we do the final episode before the big 100.
Aye. We've got something fun for this next episode.
Mm-hmm. So, until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty.